Are you still considering yourself as the elected president, or have you yourself decided to move on?
There's nothing to move on from in Uganda. Uganda is still under the tight grip of a military dictatorship under General Museveni. Like you rightly put it, we went to the polls, but we went to the polls when the internet is blacked out, when my entire campaign team is in incarceration under a month ago, while thousands of our supporters are still in illegal detention. The African Union, like you say, did not say a word. And yes, the international community, apart from a few statements, continue to be, silent about the atrocities that actually continue happening in Uganda.
So you still consider yourself as the elected president of Uganda, or are you now saying, okay, let's look at the future, what we can do to change the situation in your country?
I am definitely the elected president of Uganda. But as it is, the junta that took over our country with force of arms in 1986 is still under control of our country unconstitutionally. Of course, we have to continue fighting to ensure that the will of the people of Uganda is asserted.
Mr. Museveni, whom I interviewed last week, said he was never scared of your challenge, despite the fact that you seem to worry his regime. Do you think he was scared of you?
I must say that General Museveni is scared not just of me, but of the generation, of the thousands and thousands of Ugandans that are yearning for change, and not only yearning for change silently, but are up to demand for what's rightfully theirs. He is scared because he has kept people ignorant for a long time, until when our generation woke up all at once. We must remember that Uganda is a country that has over 80% of citizens that have never seen another president. So in this complete blackout, General Museveni declared himself winner of the election again. International authorities challenged the results as fraudulent, not free, and not fair. But I remained under house arrest for the next 11 days. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not an exaggeration to say that my life is in danger because I live in Uganda, and after here, I am going back to Uganda. I have lost friends and colleagues at the hands of security forces. I have been arrested and charged very, very many times, and my only crime has been challenging General Museveni's dictatorship. I'm therefore here to tell the world with clarity that General Museveni is not the leader you think he is. He is a threat to the people of Uganda, and yes, he's a threat to the entire region. The international community has already recognized that the 2021 election in Uganda was neither free nor fair. And it's important that these words are followed with firm actions. First, we call upon the world leaders to stop shaking General Museveni's blood-stained hands through funding and cooperation. Secondly, we call upon the governments and organizations all over the world to impose sanctions on him and the people that he uses to torture and kill innocent citizens. Thirdly, we call upon all those who value democracy and human rights and the rule of law to isolate General Museveni because he has distinguished himself as an excellent violator of human rights who has no respect whatsoever for human life and human dignity. And fourth, we ask you to support our demands for accountability for the crimes against humanity that he has committed and continues to commit against the people of Uganda. Now, for far too long, the Western world has believed that allowing dictators to hold their nations hostage is an unacceptable cost for perceived security. Leaders who tolerate dictators and treat them as legitimate partners are complicit in their crimes. Please do not be partners in crime. Do not sacrifice your moral obligation. Do not sacrifice your moral obligation for short-time convenience. Please stand on the right side of history. I thank you.
I continue to quote.
The 23rd is Kabobi. Kabobi steht für Bobi Wine.
Kabobi is Bobi Wine, the leader of the opposition and the candidate for the presidency. That quote is from the son of the president. He's also head of the Ugandan army. The post has now been removed, apparently because they fear an international reaction. I'm in favour of offering money to strengthen democracy. I'm in favour of protecting human rights through our cooperation. But this is completely unfair, what is happening, and I'm waiting for action from the Commission and the Council. The European Parliament is not going to let this go.
My next speaker on behalf of the ESN Group is Mr. Siskowski.
Thank you, Chair, ladies and gentlemen. 40 years is a long time, and 40 years ago the world was completely different. Diego Maradona was the best football player. Margaret Thatcher was the ruling person in the UK. Uganda has had the same president all the time, so no surprise people want changes. But for the 40 years, the president of Uganda did not change either. He rules with the same methods all the time. And this shows the divergence between what we're talking here, where we condemn the behavior of authorities, and that we make business with Uganda. So here there is this discrepancy, because on the one hand we talk about it and indeed we invest there, and we have a policy which should be realpolitik, that is, we focused on business and raw materials. The violence obviously has a very dark side to it, and we should condemn what's happening there. On the other hand, foreign policy should be about caring about our own interest. Thank you.
Much, dear colleague. I have 3 requests for the catch the eye. First one is Mr. Stier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, the situation in Uganda is not only a problem for Bobi Wine. Of course, it is for him and his family. It's not only a problem for Uganda, for the country. We've seen that last year in Tanzania. We unfortunately are seeing that in other parts of Africa. But this is also a failure for us. It's a failure of our development cooperation policy. Because I will remind that in the UN, SDGs, the 16th SDG is about good governance, and this is exactly what is lacking, for example, in Uganda. And then we are thinking, why is the case that for every euro that we are sending in our development cooperation, there are 10 times more euros that are evaporating in corruption in these countries. This is because there is no accountability, because the opposition is treated in that way, because we have presidents that are in the 7th mandate without any checks and balances. This is a failure also of our development cooperation policy. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor Stier. Señor López Aguilar.
Dear Chair, President, González Pons, Commissioner, more than 10 years ago, my first mandate is this European Parliament. I was a member of a EU electoral observation mission to Uganda, a country long tormented by oppressive, brutal regimes. Museveni was elected. So many years after, Museveni is still in place, but democracy has been eroded, human rights continue to be violated. I had the opportunity to check the importance and the weight of EU diplomacy on the spot in Uganda. So it summed up with the embassies of the member states, and still we're still powerless in order to make the right point to bring about fair, credible elections in Uganda. Insofar, there is something we can do. It's make the case for human rights violated of the leaders of the opposition, so that the European message is still heard in Kampala, in Uganda, in all over the place, that we do care about those leaders of the opposition which are so unfairly prosecuted against. So please, Commissioner, take the message. Action is needed in Uganda, Kampala. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor López Aguilar. Mr. Tinkinen, seat 210.
Mr. President, Uganda's president, who has been in power for more than 40 years, has placed the only credible opposition candidate under house arrest. 40 years in power, and challengers are put under house arrest. This is not democracy, it is criminal. Now listen to what the EU's official policy is at the same time regarding its support for Uganda. The EU cooperates with Uganda to promote the country's green transition, support sustainable and inclusive job creation and investment growth, and strengthen democratic governance that advances social inclusion and human rights. It seems the support policy has not been very successful. The EU must now decide whether we want to continue financing these regimes that laugh at our declarations with gold teeth flashing, or is it time to adopt a new mantra for development aid as well? Here we draw the line. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear colleague. Madam Commissioner, you have the floor.